Did you know that 1 in 5 Australians have owned both a Ford and a Holden in their lifetime? It's a testament to the fierce loyalty these brands inspire. But what made millions of Aussies switch sides in the great Ford versus Holden debate? The answer lies in a century-long rivalry that pushed both companies to their limits. In 1948, a single car revolutionized the Australian automotive landscape. The Holden 48-215, marked as Australia's own car, rolled off the production line and into the hearts of Aussies nationwide. This sleek sedan, powered by a 2.15-litre 6-cylinder engine producing 60 horsepower, wasn't just another vehicle. It was a symbol of national pride and engineering prowess.
And general design had an element of secrecy for so long.
The impact of the 48-215 was immediate and profound. Within its first 3 years, Holden sold over 100,000 units, quickly establishing a dominant position in the market. This success didn't go unnoticed by Ford Australia, who recognized the existential threat posed by their new competitor. Ford's response was swift and decisive. A.W. Bill McDonald, the managing director of Ford Australia at the time, summed up the company's stance. "We must respond quickly to this new competition or risk losing our market position." True to their word, Ford accelerated the development of new models to compete with Holden's offering. In 1950, Ford introduced the Zephyr, a direct competitor to the Holden 48-215. This marked the beginning of a product development race that would span decades, with each company pushing the other to innovate and improve their offerings. The early 1950s saw both Ford and Holden engage in aggressive marketing campaigns, each vying for the hearts and wallets of Australian consumers. The competition between the two brands intensified, driving rapid advancements in automotive technology and design. As noted by automotive journalist John Smales in 1953, the emergence of Holden as a dominant player has forced Ford to rethink its strategies in Australia, marking the beginning of a fierce rivalry that will shape our automotive landscape for decades. This prescient observation would prove to be remarkably accurate. The Ford versus Holden rivalry, born in 1948 with the launch of the first Holden, quickly became more than just a competition between two car manufacturers. It evolved into a cultural phenomenon that would divide families, spark heated debates, and ultimately drive the Australian automotive industry to new heights. The 1960s ushered in an era where horsepower reigned supreme, and the roar of V8 engines became the heartbeat of a nation. But which car would claim the title of Australians' ultimate muscle machine? In 1968, Holden unleashed the Monaro, a powerful V8-equipped muscle car that quickly captured the imagination of Australian enthusiasts. The Monaro offered engine options ranging from a robust 5-litre to a thunderous 5.7-litre V8, delivering impressive performance that set new benchmarks for the era. Its sleek design and strong performance made it an instant favourite among those seeking both style and speed. Not to be outdone, Ford had already fired the first shot in this new battle with the introduction of the Falcon GT in 1967. Under the hood, the Falcon GT boasted a 4.7-litre V8 engine producing 300 horsepower, a figure that put it squarely in competition with the Monaro. The Falcon GT's combination of power and handling quickly established it as a formidable contender in the muscle car segment. These two titans of Australian automotive engineering didn't just compete on the streets, they took their rivalry to the racetrack, most notably at the Bathurst 1000, known as the Great Race. Bathurst became the ultimate proving ground for Ford and Holden. The competition intensified during the late 1960s and 70s, with epic battles between the Falcon GT and Monaro captivating fans and defining Australian motorsport culture. The impact of these muscle cars extended far beyond the racetrack. In its first year alone, the Ford Falcon GT saw over 2,000 units sold, making it one of the best-selling performance cars in Australia. The Monaro similarly flew off showroom floors, contributing to a muscle car boom that swept the nation. These vehicles weren't just modes of transportation, they became symbols of power, freedom, and national pride. As one driver from the era put it, every time we hit the track, it was about proving who was the best, Ford or Holden. This sentiment echoed throughout the country, with the rivalry between the two brands pushing both to continually innovate and improve their offerings. The rivalry between Ford and Holden extended far beyond the racetrack, infiltrating Australian homes in ways few could have predicted. How did a competition between car manufacturers manage to divide families and friendships across the nation? For many Australians, choosing between Ford and Holden wasn't just about selecting a vehicle. It was a declaration of identity. Brand loyalty ran deep, often passed down through generations. Families became divided along automotive lines, with fathers and sons supporting opposing marquees. This fierce allegiance transformed backyard barbecues and workplace water cooler conversations into passionate debates about engine displacement and lap times at Bathurst. Both Ford and Holden recognized the power of this loyalty and crafted marketing strategies to reinforce it. Ford's Built Tough Ford campaign emphasized ruggedness and reliability, while Holden's football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars advertisement tapped into national pride.
We love football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars. Football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
These campaigns weren't just selling cars, they were selling a lifestyle and a sense of belonging. The rivalry permeated Australian popular culture. TV shows featured characters defined by their choice of car, while musicians penned odes to their favourite brand. Even iconic Australian comedy The Castle couldn't resist a nod to the divide, with the main character proudly asserting, "I'm a Ford man myself." As the competition intensified in the 1990s and 2000s, so did the fervour of the fans. The introduction of the V8 Supercar series in 1997 provided a new battleground for brand supremacy. Race days saw seas of blue for Ford and red for Holden, with spectators donning team colours and waving flags in support of their chosen manufacturer. The V8 Supercar series became the ultimate expression of the Ford-Holden rivalry. It wasn't just about the cars on the track. It was about national identity, personal allegiance, and bragging rights that lasted long after the checkered flag fell. Each victory was celebrated as a vindication of brand choice, while defeats were felt as personal setbacks by loyal supporters. The turn of the millennium brought unprecedented changes to the automotive landscape, but few could have predicted the seismic shift that would occur in 2017. How did two manufacturing giants with a combined 160 years of Australian production suddenly find themselves at the end of the road? In 2017, both Ford and Holden announced the closure of their Australian manufacturing operations. Ford's decision marked the end of 91 years of local production, while Holden's closure brought 69 years of operation to a close. The impact on the Australian workforce was immediate and severe. Approximately 3,000 direct jobs were lost at Ford, with Holden shedding around 1,600 positions. The ripple effect through the supply chain resulted in thousands more job losses. The final vehicles to roll off Australian production lines were a testament to the enduring legacy of both brands. Ford's last locally manufactured models were the iconic Falcon and the versatile Territory SUV. Holden's swan song was the Commodore, a car that had defined the brand for generations of Australians. Economic factors played a significant role in the decision to cease local manufacturing. High production costs, shifting consumer preferences away from large cars, and increased competition from imported vehicles created a perfect storm that made Australian production unsustainable. The changing global automotive landscape left little room for localized manufacturing in a market as small as Australia's. Holden's managing director summed up the sentiment of many in the industry, stating, "This is a sad day for our company and our employees, but we must adapt to the changing market conditions." The closure of these manufacturing plants was more than just a business decision. It represented the end of an era in Australian industry and culture. The demise of local manufacturing raised concerns about the future of automotive engineering and design in Australia. The country had long relied on Ford and Holden as pillars of its automotive sector, providing not just jobs, but also fostering innovation and technical expertise. As the last cars left the production lines, Australians reflected on the bittersweet end of a uniquely Australian automotive era. The Ford-Holden rivalry had shaped the nation's car culture for nearly 7 decades, driving innovation and passion in equal measure. Though manufacturing has ended, the spirit of this iconic rivalry lives on in the hearts of enthusiasts and in the classic vehicles that still roam Australian roads.